right, ladies and gentlemen, it is release day of the first ever episode of the Descent into Madness podcast, even though this is episode 2. And we welcome you to the Descent into Madness podcast with 3 raging idiots talking around microphones.
Is it just me or is his thing cutting out?
What?
Which, huh?
Kane, is Kane's mic cutting out for you or is it just for me?
Oh, I thought it was just for me. Yeah, Ken, you had a microphone issue there,
Yeah.
Did I?
brother.
Yeah, you were
Yes,
cutting
sir.
out a little bit.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, probably.
Is it still cutting out?
No,
Yeah,
no, it's fine.
sure.
Okay, I need an actual answer and not a mouthful of sandwich answer.
No, it's not right now.
Not a mouthful of sandwich answer. Well, you came to the wrong place.
Yeah.
It's like all I heard was...
Schnadwich.
Okay, well, the audio, I did the intro. That's all I did. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
keeping it. It sounds perfect on
That's
my
fine.
end.
It's
No,
fine
back
now.
Back to where we were. Pork or beef?
A week later,
Or
we're
I could-
still on it.
Yeah. Or we can continue with what we normally start them off with now. And
You
I
can't-
plan to start them off with cheese facts.
Oh my god. Okay, let's hear the
Oh, dear.
weekly Michael Cheese fact.
Did you know that the most expensive cheese in the world is Serbian donkey cheese?
What makes it so
Clocking in at about
expensive?
5. Well, donkey milk is actually very difficult to get to coagulate, and there's not much of it when a donkey starts producing milk. Plus, there is, and I'm not joking, only 2 people in the world that know how to make the milk into cheese, because it's very difficult to do. And so there's this Serbian farmer and one other person with him that figured out how to turn the donkey milk into cheese, thus making it very, very hard to get and very expensive.
Well, there you have it.
We will. But that's $500.
What in what increments? Pounds?
I believe so.
Damn.
I can tell you, though, it does have supposedly a nutty flavor to it. Kind of like hazelnuts, I think.
Well, then they got the wrong milk.
No.
They got
Because,
peanut milk.
Sandwich. Sorry.
God, you fucking ape.
Look, it's a good sandwich. It's got oil
Dude,
and
I
vinegar on
really
it.
do. I'm so fucking hungry. But I'm like,
Well,
all right.
then,
We had to get on this before you had to fucking work.
I know.
So it's a
If,
sacrifice
if
I'm
you're
willing
looking to
make.
eat anything, you can eat these nuts.
All right, well, let's get into one of the first segues that I see you posted in the chat yesterday.
Mhm.
I didn't get a chance to read it. Why don't you give us a summary of it? But just the headlines is the strange U.S. surge in banning of books. What's that all
Yeah.
about?
So the reason I brought that one out is I wanted your opinions on banning books in schools. So, should books like Catcher in the Rye and To Kill a Mockingbird be banned because of what's in them, like
No.
content-wise?
It's history. No.
See, so some people are on the other opposite, end of the spectrum, where they believe certain books should be banned because of the language used in the books, and the ideas put in them. So books like Mein Kampf or To Kill a Mockingbird with its language and use of the N-word.
Okay, did you ever have to read Mein Kampf? I've never had to read that. That was
No,
never
but-
part of
but-
anything.
That's one of those things of it's banned in certain places because of what's in it. I'm not saying it's something that we've ever had to read, and I don't think you're ever going to read it in schools. Welcome back.
Welcome back to what?
But welcome back to Descent into Madness, where we're currently talking about cheese and books.
What the fuck are you talking about? What? You were just talking about book, and then you just reset.
What?
Oh my god, what is your issue? Are you having a stroke?
I don't know.
What the fuck? Chris, did you not just witness that? Where he just reset? Or did I have the stroke? And did I time skip?
We were
Dude,
still talking about books. You asked me about the
Yes, and
news
then you
article
just
I
go,
posted.
welcome back to the Descent. Just
What did I just cut
That's
out?
you might have had a time skip
Oh.
because I'm gonna be honest. For like the last minute, I haven't even been here.
what the...
Ah,
I had to switch
I-
internet connections, so
yeah, I just
I've
noticed
been,
Chris left.
Oh, I didn't know he
I've
was
been
gone. That's what
gone.
you said
No,
welcome back to.
Yeah,
See-
Chris Chris disconnected, so I
See,
said
I
welcome back.
yeah,
I on my screen, his picture never left. Like he was here the
I'm
whole
gonna
time.
be. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna be honest. I'm sure Michael did that while I was gone. I believe you, but I also can't prove it.
Okay, that makes sense now. Why he said welcome, because all I heard, because I didn't know you disconnected, and so all I hear is him talking about banning Mein Kampf, and then he just goes, "Yeah, well, we banned Mein Kampf. It's not like we have a Reddit in any schools. Welcome back to the Descent in the Madness podcast. It's just where we talk about cheese." He just reset.
Huh?
You could say I buried, but that one will need some context for the listeners.
Yeah, why don't you explain Bori?
Well, we gotta finish talking about books first.
All right.
So, what's your opinion on that, though? Do you think we should ban books because of the language used in them,
You know,
or do we
I
think it should be still used to teach?
I think there should be a different way of teaching them. Because I remember reading To Kill a Mockingbird and we literally just read it. And we went into like trying to find the symbolism and everything. And I think it should be used in the sense of, you know, just the difference in time. I mean, just because when that book came out, that was the normal language. And yeah, it was like the actual book is interesting and like to me at least had an interesting message about a black man, you know, getting sued and, you know, trying to fight for it and a white guy trying to defend him and stuff like that. It was interesting, but also it's just everything about it except for that one very broad and not fixating key point is so broad spectrum that that's just not the focus. The main focus, honestly, what it feels like, especially with today's society, is that when you're going through that book of just reading it for racism, and I think it should be shown as part of like maybe American history of like, you know, this was an American author written whenever it was. I don't remember. I think it was early 1900s.
So instead of sweeping it under the rug and by banning it and ignoring the issues with it, what you're saying is we should acknowledge that this was a part of our history and discuss why that was a thing.
Yeah, and I think because I'm a firm believer in those who don't have knowledge of history will cause history to do the old verbiage of history is doomed to repeat itself.
Yeah.
To where if you don't show, like, you know, because
So
honestly,
you're saying we should start learning from our mistakes instead of making the same mistakes over and over again.
yeah. So, like, honestly, if you think about it now, and this is probably going to get us fucking canceled on Ep.2, but it's like racism was still a huge and still is like a pretty decent part of our lives. But I am guessing because of how rapidly everything's changed and how fast it changes that like probably, I mean, there will still be some racism, but like not to the point of we know it, of like what it is, where like, you know, we know very avidly if just by saying the word Jim Crow, what that means and how that was treating people. Where like our kids, or maybe it might have to go to our kids, our grandkids, you know, won't really know what that was like. 'Cause like I've witnessed, you know, living in fucking Iowa, I have seen, and coming from the cornfields, I have seen some straight up belligerent racist stuff when you have like a total of 2 black kids in your entire school.
Oh, yeah.
Of people being very plainly belligerently racist, of just saying the N-word, get the fuck out, and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
I think in the
not a
future,
positive
like
thing.
either my kids or my kids' kids are not going to probably ever really see something like that just because of how much you don't see that now. Like, I know you do, but it's nowhere near as bad as, like, say, even 2005.
Yeah. Do you have anything to weigh in on, Chris?
No, that was pretty much it. Kind of already hit all the points that kind of I believe in. So
I thought you were just gonna come back with like a drooling statement. Racism bad.
that's pretty much what I just said.
Yeah.
I pretty much checked the strongly agree box. That's all I did.
No,
You
I
also have
think
to.
I think it shouldn't be one of those books that's just straight up, because I remember reading To Kill a Mockingbird was a week event where we read every chapter, then we watched the movie. I think maybe you could watch the movie, because the movie is nowhere near, like, I think there's, like, I think 5 N-words in the actual movie. And if there even was one, I really don't remember, because it's been a couple of years. But I remember the movie not being nearly as intense as the book. So maybe you can show the movie, maybe. But
Maybe.
I think it shouldn't be one of those things where you just read it. I think you should be able to read of it and have
Read
the
of it and
option.
explain.
The option if you want, because also the internet is the internet. And if you want, you could just pull up To Kill a Mockingbird on your own and read it. You know of it, know what it was about, know what it entailed, the reasons why it was so controversial, and then give kids the option to explore it further. And I don't think it should be anything lower than a senior class. Like, you have to have some sort of maturity. And that's already asking a lot of maturity for that group of class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Racism.
Racism.
Just
Racism.
total silence as we're just digesting. Like, I don't know. I've been thinking about that because I've been following all the Joe Rogan stuff that's been going on with his
See,
podcast.
you're
Joe Rogan
digesting the
Experience.
idea. I'm digesting a sandwich.
Well, that too. But like
No,
the
I'm
Joe
I'm not
Rogan
gonna lie.
Experience,
In
all
the
that stuff going on.
background, to make sure I don't lose focus, I'm also playing Bloons Tower Defense.
I'm just sitting here talking and playing with a knife.
Yeah. Right. I will
See,
say
we
this,
all have our fidgets, sandwich,
Well, yeah.
stupid
Kane-
video
Kane and
games,
I have ADHD, so
knives.
fidgeting is something we've gotten used to doing. I will add this though to the whole topic of the racism subject. It's one of those things, and I'm not. I want to make this clear. I'm not defending racism or racists in any way, but it's kind of a part of
boy.
human nature to be unwary or unaccepting of things that are different from what you normally do.
The entirety of human culture is built on being better than everybody else.
That's what I was about to say. I think it comes from the natural competitive nature of humanity.
There's that, and I mean, like, think about any changes that we've seen in the past century that a generation was fully against, but now they accept because they've gotten used to it a bit more. So I think that's one of the things we'll see with a lot of the movements now, like the Black Lives Matter movement.
I think it's one of those things that's going to progressively get easier, that it's never going to go away, but, like, we're not in the Martin Luther King days where they had to march just for voting rights and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, so, like, segregation being negated and stuff like that. I think we're going to be, like, honestly, if you look at it now, and I hate cancel culture to death. I truly do. I hate a lot of the extremist, but, like, I can acknowledge the problems in some of the stuff of just, how society is. And, even though I love our country to death, but, like, I can even acknowledge that, we have some issues that, of just culture, of just how you're raised, and, like, whether you realize it or not, kind of, subconsciously kind of, there. Now, I don't think it's as bad as what some of these people would like to say it is. I know there's definitely some natural racists out there. I've met quite a few of them. But, like, I don't think it's as bad as, like, every white person ever that, if you don't, like, bow down to the next person of color or someone part of a different culture the next time you see them and apologize to them profusely and give them money, that you're a belligerently racist, that some of these people would like you to believe.
Right. It goes to extremism. I mean, you find extremism everywhere.
Extremism isn't good on either side, but
no, I mean,
right now there's only one side that's extremely loud about it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things of, like, sometimes, you have to accept that history is past, because you can't go back and change what's happened. So it's a part of America's history that all happened. And instead of, going back and just focusing on all the negatives, you need to look forward to the future and focus on what you can make a positive.
See, right
Because
now, I think
we could sit there and talk all day about everything that's happened in America's history, or we could look at that and use that as an example of what not to do.
See, I think it goes to, like, the people are forgetting the difference between, like, basically like a cover up, and then forgiving and forgetting.
Mm.
It's like, or not forgiving and forgetting, but moving on. Because, it goes back to one of those things, like, you don't want to ignore it. You don't want to act like it never happened, because then history's doomed to repeat itself. If you're not able to learn from history, history will just cycle. But you can't blame people today for things that, like, their great-great-grandpappy did back in the day when, that person that you're blaming now was never even alive to meet that person.
Yeah.
They're to me, they're skewing the moving on to covering up, and they're looking at them as the same thing, to where you can't move on without completely disregarding it.
Yeah. Because there's definitely that case of, everyone's histories are different. And there's no good things that have always happened. Like, no family history is 100% clean. No one's family history is, 100% perfect. I can guarantee you, anyone and everyone in the United States of America has had a racist relative or racist family member at some point in time. So
there's a lot of people that are, like, the older generation that are alive now, like, people in the age of, like, our aunts and uncles in the age range of, like, 50 plus, that kind of thing, are what I call, like, closeted racists, I guess, where they're really good at not showing it, but, like, you get them one-on-one and drinking a little too much, and all of a sudden they'll just start laying out the fucking law to you.
Yeah. I know, and I've heard that before from a fair few people around here.
Well, there's a reason why it's, like, the most common joke of, like, every time it comes around Thanksgiving, it's like, POV, you're at Thanksgiving and your drunk racist uncle gets too much booze.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, shit just happens. But that's a lot of that stuff where I think there's also a difference between our generation and that generation, to where we're more accepting and willing to change our mindset, where back when they're growing up, they're kind of like, I call them, they're, like, right at the height of the Cold War babies. Cold War babies, stuff like that, where it was so ingrained in their head to keep their mindset, because that was the thing. Like, you couldn't, America, they constantly drilled in Americans' heads that, you can't show fear. Can't show fear. That's weak. Can't show weakness to the Soviet Union. That's what they want. They want to scare you. And I think that trickled down, and that was constantly the raising factor, and that was, whether they realized it or not, that's what they were doing. And I think it's finally got to our generation where it's starting to fizzle out. Like a thing of Play-Doh that you kept rolling on the table that got too thin and started breaking in the middle. Don't know where that analogy came from, but I'm sure you understand
it. Somewhat.
Did you ever eat Play-Doh as a kid?
No.
You didn't eat Play. You seem like the kid who would have eaten Play-Doh.
No, I never ate Play-Doh. I never ate crayons.
Well, I never ate them, but I've tasted it.
I will say, I was the kid that would sniff exhaust fumes.
Okay, who wouldn't? Like, what kid didn't go to the fucking gas station with their dad in the back seat, ask him to roll down the windows to inhale some of that nice alcoholic fumes? Gas. I remember, like, distinctly how gas used to smell. Gas is, like, so different now. Like, it doesn't smell. It doesn't really have a smell unless you're smelling it, like, straight up. Like, because it used to be to the point where you could literally just smell it as it was going into your car. But now, like, I don't smell shit as it's going into my car. Unless, like, I put it in a gas can and like a jerry can, and have it pretty close. Like I'm active. If I'm able to see the liquid, I can smell it. But it's not like how it used to be, where I used to be able to be in the car with the windows up and the doors closed, and you would fucking smell the vapor.
Are you saying that your scent is based on your sight? You can only smell things if you see them.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you have to be in that...
really stupid dinosaur, aren't you?
I'm smelling people. That's because you're looking at them, idiot.
Just because you're looking at him,
I
idiot.
can smell you.
No, I can understand that too. It's
No, but also, like, there is actual science behind it, because there's so many ethanol restrictions now, to where it's not alcohol, it's ethanol, and ethanol isn't actually not that good for cars, but it's sort of better for the environment.
yeah.
Honestly,
Well, it's also
not by a reasonable margin, but they'll like to have you believe otherwise, because they can charge you more for it.
I mean, hey, at least we're no longer putting lead in it. At least I
I think we should go back.
I think we should go back.
go back
Like,
to the
okay,
good old days.
there is I believe that there is a
Hear me
distinct correlation between when we stopped putting lead in gas and when cars started looking stupid. Because think
You know
about it.
what? You're right.
Yeah, back when there was a huge thing, when they didn't give two shits about like what they put in the cars. We had the freaking 60s Impala, the freaking Buick Riviera, the 68 Dodge Charger, the Dodge Challenger, like anything from Dodge back then. And then you have a 2001 Chevy Impala when we started when we started talking about like the 90s, when we started talking about the earth and how the gas was the problem. And honestly, it's not the gas. It's cars. It's I mean, yeah, it produces a bad issue because of just the sheer mass of them, but cars themselves don't produce nearly as much as like enough power plants to just run a state.
I mean, I think the two largest producers of carbon dioxide are from farming with tractors and all of that, and coal plants, like that kind of production.
Yeah, that's a thing. And also, like, you want to know what's like up there in top 5? I read methane, natural gas from like farm animals, farting. Methane is a massive contributor to global warming, and it's just being ridiculous. Like, you can literally look at heat maps from satellites, and wherever there's like a cattle farm, it's just this massive blip of just
I remember.
methane.
I remember back years ago. I remember reading about a German cow farm that exploded from cow methane buildup in their barn.
I've read about that too. I don't remember I didn't know it was German. I've read of it. Like, I didn't know what it was.
It was because there was not
didn't
proper
have
ventilation in the there wasn't proper ventilation in the top, like for it to escape from, and so it all built up. And I think there's something that it caused it to ignite, and he ended up having the cow farm exploding.
I bet that was the best smelling fire possible.
Nothing
Nothing but
I don't know.
states.
A fire fueled by farts?
Hey, but
I
after
don't know
it blows the
about that.
roof, it's just going to Chernobyl that shit and exhaust out in the air. You won't smell it anymore. After that, it'll just be replaced by the sweet smell of a sirloin beef being burnt to a crisp in his pen.
That sounds like the most Texas-like thing to do. What we're gonna do is we're gonna raise a bunch of cows, all right? And then when those cows get to age,
by blowing
Berta!
up the whole bar.
Berta, tape up the
blow
window.
the whole barn and barbecue them.
Berta,
We're gonna
tape
blow
up
up the barn.
tape up the windows in the barn. I'm gonna back my F-150 to it. We're gonna smoke them.
Smoke him out of there.
So do you just? Cause I bet you could see some redneck smoker. I could just see it in my head of just someone out there has taken like ventilation tubing, attached it to their exhaust pipe, and put like a grill in like a grate in a fucking barrel and smoked them with exhaust fumes. Just sat there in an F-150, just giving it about 3,000 RPMs for about 3 hours. This shit would make you more tender goddamn ribs.
3,000 RPM for 3 hours.
I'm just thinking of that episode of Top Gear
With
when they were modifying
Gordon?
their vehicles. No, not the one with Gordon where they put the like things in the engine and drove around. I was thinking of the one where Hammond modified his pickup truck with a grill on the back that was on the trailer. Or was
The
that
American
James?
episode. No, that was Hammond.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
Dodge.
Yeah.
Dude, Top Gear is such a
Completely
good show.
useless. It is.
It is such a shame that just the world has changed to, and it's really just cancel culture and like kind of circling back to it, has gotten so aggressive that a show like Top Gear that genuinely just made jokes about at everyone's expense, no matter what, just couldn't exist anymore. Like, that show could not exist brand new. Like, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like the Grand Tour as much. Is because it, and, you know, I love the Grand Tour, don't get me wrong, because it is just funny to watch the three guys being idiots. But there is that cattishness that's not in there anymore because they edited out all that stuff because they can't show, you know, them making jokes at other people's expense because they might be 3/4 freaking Pakistani or whatever.
That's one thing I've always hated is the people that get upset for minority groups that are not a part of that minority group.
Yeah, you shouldn't like unless someone is literally just saying like, you know, F and, you know, just dropping the N-word every other second, and you pipe up and say, hey, you probably shouldn't say that. That's not very good. Like, you should probably stop being a piece of shit. But like when you're sitting there making a harmless joke, like I like to think of the, you know, the Bert Kreischer special I made you guys watch, where he's talking about the where he literally was talking about how the people that get the most offended over minorities is other white people. And he was talking about how he just wanted a black coffee. And he said, he's like,
oh, with that kid?
Yeah, with the kid. And instead of saying,
joke was so good.
And instead of saying with black coffee, he goes, yeah, well, I don't want my coffee to know its father. It's just, and the kid freaking laughed. Everyone was having a good time except for the person standing in line behind him, which was a white woman.
He thought it was funny, and he was the black kid. Like, he thought it was funny.
Granted, it goes to one of those cases of, I think some of those jokes still live today. Like with that joke, but you have to know when to time them. And the other thing is, though,
well, if you're just walking around saying freaking racist jokes all day,
oh yeah, no,
yeah, you might have an issue.
I mean, he took a calculated risk. Like, and at that point in the joke, in the punchline, that was like the fourth time he said he did it anyway.
Yeah,
I was like, the whole lead up was like the kid knew he was a comedian and everything. And, like, because I remember the kid said that he didn't like him as much because Bert Kreischer laughed at his own jokes. And that's the whole spiral, is because he laughs at his own jokes. And so he sat there and made a fucking joke. Because that's the thing of comedy. And he says it in the show. And it's true. What makes something funny is the least expected thing you say. So the least expected thing that kid was probably thinking from a freaking white guy in a hooded sweatshirt was to freaking tell him that when he asked him what type of coffee he wants his coffee to be pulled over for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, in that kid, he said the kid freaking lost it. And that's comedy. Comedy is supposed to take unfortunate things and make you laugh. That's what it is. That's comedy. Because have you seen the, like, woke comedians that are actually trying to be comedians, but that aren't
talking like Seth Rogen has become?
I haven't watched any Seth Rogen. I don't like Seth Rogen stand up anyway. But
I'm not even talking about his stand up. Did you see his latest show, Santa Inc.?
No, I don't watch anything with Seth Rogen. The only thing I've watched with Seth Rogen is Invincible, because he was Alan the Alien.
Yeah. He was, wasn't he?
But, like, I mean, you see, like, a lot of these woke comedians trying to make jokes, and, like, there's a difference. There is a lot of them are like the Amy Schumer approach, where they just sit there and berate their audience the whole time for not laughing at her jokes. Like, I have to think of this lady's name.
Because she's unfunny. Because
they're not funny. And, like, these people are not funny. But, like, then, like, how can you make a joke? Like, it's like, you know, when... And, I mean, honestly, like, the way woke culture is and woke comedians, because they have to tell you the most clean fucking joke. It's just worth a chuckle. Like, you know, okay.
Yeah, like, if I was to sit there and tell you knock-knock jokes.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to, is, like, freaking, you know, like a minute setup and punchline, those types of jokes. And then you have people like Bert Kreischer that do these whole setups talking about weed with a guy's atrophied arm and like stuff like that. And just my favorite thing was when he was talking about how he was in basketball camp and these two black kids walk him up to smoke and he's like, "Hey, Ray, you won't get high?" "Hell yeah, I won't get high." Just the way he did the voice makes me laugh so fucking hard. But that's the point of comedy, is you take, like, he took that stereotype and made it funny. And, like, I'm sure there's people that got pissed, but that whole fucking crowd was laughing.
Yep.
The only thing that sucks is that a lot of those people are, a lot of people in the world are normal. The vast majority. It's actually a very small minority that are the super wicked offenders. Oh my God, I got offended. Those type of people.
Yeah.
But the issue is they're the only ones that'll say something. So they're the loudest, and with today's society, whoever is the loudest is the smartest one in the room for some reason.
Well, if that were the case, Kane, both you and I are pretty loud in our own respect, but neither of us are smart.
I don't know. I feel like me and you could bust out some wicked intelligent stuff out of nowhere.
If I applied myself, I'm sure I could.
It would be out of nowhere. It'd be on a topic that's not important, and it would be for your own personal gain.
Probably would be.
So it would be really smart for the moment, yes. But I don't know.
Like cheese, it's completely irrelevant to half the stuff in the world, but I know quite a bit about cheese.
Yeah, that's not something you quite need a knowledge of for anything.
No.
Like, except for like a game where it just happens to have one or two questions about random ass cheese questions for like, because we had this game, it's called Useless Knowledge Trivia, where it just gives you like the most off the wall questions. And because it's just part of that thing where it's like, yeah, I know that for some reason. Don't ask me how, but I do. And I feel like you would kill that game if it came up with cheese.
Oh, yeah.
But that's about the only time your cheese knowledge would ever get actual validity with it. Besides just sitting here and talking.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one thing that, like, you don't see very much anymore is cheese. People at this... No, I see cheese all the time. Have you tried that Parmesan I gave you?
No, I've been saving it for a dish.
Good man.
I'm not. But, it needs to be enjoyed and properly.
Just gnawing
enjoyed.
On the block of Parmesan.
That's the way to do it, though. Sometimes, I mean,
just for fun.
Good fresh Parmesan.
No, I have some cheese ravioli, and I'm gonna cook up some meat and put a little parsley and. Or not parsley, oregano, and some onion. Chop that up in there. And then I'm going to get some... I'm probably going to just get some ragu sauce, but I'm going to try to make my own pasta sauce first. But have the ragu just in case. And then
ragu.
And then I'm going to get a little... Well, I don't have a cheese grater, but I have a potato peeler. So I feel like if I peel slices off the cheese and then take a knife and cut the slices, I can make my own shredded cheese.
So what you're saying is that someone needs to buy you a cheese grater.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like that's one of those things where, all right, so you'll find out once you move out.
As long as I live, I'm not letting you cut cheese with a fucking potato peeler. Okay?
Watch me.
I will kill you.
Watch me.
You have heard it here first. I will admit to the murder if you so much as dare to try and shred cheese with a fucking potato peeler.
It's happening now. Pure spite now. I will film it and send it to you.
I will bash your brain in with a brick.
I will sit there.
I will properly grate cheese on it.
But, okay, so when you move out, when you finally move out on your own, and you'll just find of just random shit that you're so used to just having at home that you never think about. Like, I'm going on, like, a little over half a year living on my own. Completely on my own. And a cheese grater is one of those things where you honestly don't ever think about it until you need one.
Until you need the cheese grater.
And
Yeah.
it's not one of those things where I want to dedicate an entire store run just for a cheese grater.
For you to get in there.
Personally, I don't see anything wrong with dedicating an entire store run for a cheese grater.
Okay, but the thing is, like, the only recently time I've wanted a cheese grater, because otherwise the only other cheese I have is like the blocks of pepper jack, which I just cut with a knife because I'm using it for cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Is
I mean,
with
like,
this Parmesan. This Parmesan's literally the first item of cheese, dairy product in the shape of a gelatinous shape with a somewhat solidity to it, aka cheese. This is the first time I've needed the actual grater for cheese.
I can bring one. Or I can just buy you one.
So I can get one. It's just one of those things that I don't ever remember when I'm out to get one. And like when you guys move out, you'll do that a lot. What?
Shopping list.
See, I told you what happened though. I already told you what happened. I made a shopping list. I still have it. I still have a full comprehensive shopping list on my phone. And I got to the store and forgot I fucking had the shopping list and went the entire time guessing on what I needed.
Because you're stupid.
Yeah,
Because you're stupid.
it's because of my short-term memory. I am such a renob when it comes to my short-term memory. It takes...
It's because you're stupid.
Why I got you, if you need to write down your grocery list on a calendar, you have a calendar.
That he also hasn't opened, though.
Yes.
Honestly,
and that he offered to his landlord for money off his rent.
Okay, I'd offer anything to get money off rent, though, except for sex, because that is not a woman you want to get down and dirty with.
Why, you don't want to become Devin's dad?
I honestly would rather
Oh my
fuck
lord.
Cody. In that situation, Michael, I'm taking the ogre.
The ogre?
Yeah. The foopinator.
The choker.
The fact that you said be Devin's dad, just like, I want.
No, Devin's daddy is what he said. Devin's
I didn't
daddy.
hear him say. I didn't hear him say daddy. Oh, that makes it worse.
Yeah, it makes it so much worse. Just, that is such an awful thought.
No, I can understand that.
No, but honestly, with the fucking calendar, I almost don't want to open it because I don't want it to get ruined because it's fucking hilarious.
It is. It's beautiful.
And it's like, that's one of those things where if I keep it wrapped, I'm going to have it for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny as
Limited
shit.
edition.
Watch it become like a fucking, $1 million piece. Like, Michael, this is the best Christmas present I've ever received. I'm a millionaire.
Sure.
Yeah, literally
Please
gave you
tell
$1
me you're
million.
not going to sell the calendar as an NFT.
Oh my god.
All right, so now I got to give some context on what this calendar is. So this calendar is called Kilty Pleasures, not guilty, Kilty, Kilty, Pleasures, and it's nothing filled with a whole bunch of men in fucking kilts, like shirtless. Like, okay, I ain't gay, but I can appreciate a good-looking man. These are some good-looking fucking dudes.
Shirtless, sweaty men in kilts.
Are they sweaty? I didn't pay that close
Yeah, they're
attention.
glistening. They look like they were oiled.
Glistening. They're glistening.
Glistening.
But, like, so what were you going to get me originally? You said something where you're like, I got to find you a Christmas present. And then out of nowhere, I got text, I just found the absolute perfect present for you, but I'm not telling you what it is. And you're going to wait to open it in front of everyone. You talked about this thing for like 3 weeks of just how awesome this present was. And it was fucking awesome. It was hilarious. Opening that present with the Chester Cheetah fucking wrapping paper to open up to Kilty Pleasures
I forgot about the Chester
was the
Cheetah wrapping
funniest
paper.
shit ever.
Oh man.
So what happened was I was at a Barnes and Noble, and I was looking at their
I can't get over that that's where it was.
And I was
That's ridiculous.
I was looking at sorry, excuse me. But I was looking at the dollar store kind of calendar rack they had. And I saw one with like the girls in bikinis, and I was like, oh, he's a guy, he'll appreciate it. But then I turned it just a smidge more, and I saw it. And it was right,
Nice.
and I was like, no, this is perfect. because it's just the guy thing to do to get your friend the weirdest, most
Exactly.
raunchy kind of strange presents you can for Christmas.
That's
So I
exactly
saw
it. I'm glad
and
you
I was-
understand.
It's a
And I was-
moral obligation.
Because it then got me thinking, like, well, I can't just tell him that this is what it is, like, because that kind of loses some of the comedic value. So I sat there and I was like, I need to let him know that I got something, and I need to know, like, let him know that it's good. Because then you kind of build up that anticipation, and
He
like you
built it
start
up.
wondering what it is. And you forgot to mention the tube of peanuts in there.
Oh my god, yeah, the tube of peanuts.
Yeah, because you grabbed that and you shook it, and you're like, "What's that?" And I said, "Those are my nuts." And fucking that just got it even better, because like,
See, because I saw the
way-
tube first. I held the tube first. I didn't see guilty pleasures in there until after
You
the
mean
tube.
you held my nuts first?
Oh my god. And also note that those are the worst tasting peanuts of my fucking life. I didn't know it was possible to fuck up peanuts that bad.
Well, so they were in a paper towel tube and they had been in there since I wrapped that. So they were just dry roasted stale peanuts that were like have been sitting in that box
Dude, they were
for
disgusting.
a month. And quite frankly, I was surprised when you downed them. Like, you put all of my nuts in your mouth.
I fucking love peanuts. I'm not afraid to say it. I like nuts in my mouth. A good mixed nuts bag right in my mouth. Sweet and
My
savory.
mouth.
Salty cashews. Maybe a fucking, if you're feeling up to it, a pistachio. If you please.
You're feeling up to it, a pistachio. If you're feeling up to it.
You ever had pistachio ice cream?
I haven't actually.
I had pistachio ice cream when I was in Germany.
It's good, but weird, isn't it? Obviously,
It is.
probably yours was way better because it was in Germany.
Yeah.
Because that is more of a European type
No,
thing.
I will say one thing that was really good, and it's very simple, but for some reason it makes it better. Is there's a dish in Germany called spaghetti ice. Ice is just ice,
Spaghetti
like
ice.
in German, but it was ice
spaghetti.
cream pushed spaghetti
You'd think that.
like the pasta, and
Oh, so they
I
just
said
push
ice
it through that
because-
fucking Play-Doh thing?
yeah. And for
That
some
is
reason,
exactly what it is.
for some reason, it is just better. And the only thing that they
So what you're
do
implying is the Germans like Play-Doh.
So the Germans have eaten Play-Doh, but you haven't.
no, or yes.
I guess now he
Somewhat.
has.
But the thing was, they put a strawberry sauce on top, like it's marinara, and then they sprinkle crumbs of white chocolate as those, like the sprinkle Parmesan cheese.
So they make it like an actual spaghetti dish.
Yeah, and I think I still have the picture of it. And I think that they thought I was in a gay relationship because I went there with my exchange partner, and we're both men, and we got these like waffle cone kind of dipping chips things that were in the shape of hearts, and when they set it down, they said, "You two enjoy now," and walked off. And I was like, "I will enjoy, but." And
I think you misread the room here, gentlemen.
Well, okay. So how did they say it though? Because I feel like it could just be okay. There's two
pretty much
people.
just like that.
It's just that
like,
you two enjoy it now.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have just gone full force into it. I would have started telling them how it's like your honeymoon and shit, and then try to get a free dessert.
Well, so that was supposed to be my dessert because already that day I had a sandwich to start off. Then I went and had a large döner. Then we
what?
went and got a döner. It's kind of like a gyro. I'll get to that in a second. But then we had ice cream, and my exchange partner then also wanted to go to KFC and get KFC.
Out of all things to get in Germany, you guys got fucking KFC.
No, we didn't. I refused to go to the KFC because they don't have biscuits or mac and cheese. So
What's the point?
only two things I ever
But
get
what
at
do they
KFC were not there. They just have chicken, and it's not very
And
good.
it's KFC, so it's not good chicken.
Yeah, no, it was subpar at best. And so after we ate all of this food, he then also wanted to go and get KFC. And I was like, dude, I'm a fat guy, but I am not
I ain't
able.
throwing down like that.
And yeah, no, so it was one of those things of like.
See, but you're like me of being fat. That like you're fat with certain foods. Like if it's not something that you can just like for me, pizza is that food. Like I can eat fucking 4 pizzas and not feel full. But if you set me in front of like, spaghetti or something, I eat like 5 bites and I'm like, not really feeling it no more.
Dude, I could a whole pot of sketty, dude, 100%. I could make
honestly
that disappear, and I would feel like I've been poisoned after.
I like spaghetti, but my issue is that when I was younger, every time I would get sick because like it was such a cheap meal to make for such a large people, like because you guys have seen my family, we're not small people, and every time I would get sick, my mom would always happen to make spaghetti right as I was getting over it. So it just make me feel just as bad because my stomach doesn't handle the acid in the tomatoes very well, in the tomato sauce.
Right.
So it always made me feel like shit. So like I kind of associate spaghetti like that, but I'm also fat enough to that not chase me away from spaghetti.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's my feeling. All right, so Michael just posted that ice cream in the chat. That looks pretty slapping, to be honest.
Oh, it was. Now, I'll also tell you what Derna is. Derna is originally a Turkish dish that the Germans, on their many conquests through Europe, had brought back from the Turkish in the Ottoman Empire. Same thing with coffee. That's why you find so much coffee in Austria. But all it was a loaf of like pita bread or something like that they would cut open, slice off lamb meat, like spiced lamb meat, fill with cabbage, coleslaw, and like ranch or something.
You had
most times vinaigrette. And they would they would absolutely fill this thing to the brim with all of this stuff. And oh my god, when we went there, and you can ask any of us that went to Germany, I alone ate like 23, 24 Döner, like, and I'm talking large Döner, the size of like my computer monitor, not fully, but you get the picture. They were big, like 2 hands big, and I ate every single one down to the last bite while we were there, and we were only there for 2 weeks. I feasted upon those things. I would have like 2 in a day because they were so damn good.
So I'm going to ask you this because you actually went to Germany. You've told us about. I want to know, were you guys just in a very touristy part of Germany? Because like you guys have told us, but no, and I get that you're going to eat a little bit more extravagant because you were exchange students, like. So they're gonna show you the more extravagant part, but like you never really see a whole bunch of fat Germans. But like the way you guys ate while you're there shocks me that there isn't just like they're not as obese as America.
Well, so part of that is because the European Union has a lot stricter laws on what can be in your food. So there's like less preservatives, less food dyes, all that. And the other thing is, and especially in Germany, anywhere and everywhere you go, everything is fresh, like off the bone, like out of the field. You get it fresh. I mean, bread.
Well,
bread was the biggest thing that we missed when we came back, was because every single morning you didn't go to the grocery store and buy a loaf of bread.
They still have like you go to the local baker.
Yeah. And so you'd get up at like 4 a.m, you would go to the baker that you always go to, and they already knew like what time you were showing up, what you were going to order, and what you're going to pay for that bread. So you would walk in, you'd get all your bread fresh, and you'd just pay for it right then and there, and you'd have that fresh bread for the day. Because the bakers get up at like 2 a.m, make all the doughs, put them in the ovens, and as you get there, they're like pulling it right out, and it's as fresh as it can get. And it is the best tasting bread ever.
Well, I think it also comes from like the reason why we have all that stuff. Like our stuff is so processed and has so many preservatives that it literally takes the same amount of time to go to Germany and a half as it does to get to one side of Iowa to the other.
Yeah.
Of just how large America is, because it's just not possible because we're so spread out.
As funny as it seems, Germany and Iowa are approximately the same size.
Yeah, they're
Sounds
pretty
weird,
much the
but
same
it is.
size.
And that really hit home with me when we brought our exchange partners over, because I asked my exchange partner, what's the first thing you want to do? And he said, "Oh, I want to go to Texas." And I had to explain to him that it's not like in Germany where you can hop in the car, 3-hour drive. Hey, we're in Texas. No, that is a full-time commitment unless you're getting international plane tickets, and even then,
that's like
it's
I
still,
think to go from here to Texas, it's about a 16-hour drive to
Yeah.
to go to like Houston, because I'm assuming he didn't just want to go to the freaking Panhandle. He wanted to go to like Texas, like Houston, to see Texas.
Right.
Yeah, he wanted to go into Texas because when we first asked him, I was like, "So what's one of the first few things you want to do here?" He's like, "Well, I want to go to Texas and I want to be a cowboy."
Oh, so he wants to go to
And-
that part of Texas.
Dude, that's
that's
so-
southern Texas, like on the border of
Yeah.
Mexico. That's like a 24-hour drive.
Yes,
I
and so
100% agree with him.
I then said like, I looked at him and was like, "Well, we can go to Texas if you're buying the plane tickets, because that's something where it's
That's to just go there and back for like a weekend. That's like $400 in plane tickets alone.
yeah."
Like that doesn't count like anything. And like it's impossible to get a plane ticket. You'll spend like $1,000 a ticket to get there and back to do a day trip. Like if you wanted to, because it's about a 2-hour plane ride, or about an hour plane ride, because it's about the same distance straight on from here to Atlanta, and it was about an hour plane ride to go to Atlanta when we went to Myrtle Beach. And so yeah, it's about an hour and a half to 2-hour plane ride. But yeah, because of how American planes work, and just how planes work in general, is that you would not be able to, unless you paid like $1,000 each for each ticket to do like a day trip, and you'd be minimum of probably like $500 each just to do like a weekend trip. That's like something you have to go there for like a week.
Yeah, so it was one of those things of like, then you realize just the expanse comparison.
I think the biggest thing that really stood out to me was when I was talking to my grandma in her apartment building has friends from Nepal. And they're talking about how they could go from Nepal to Italy in a day, spend a day trip in Italy, and then come home late at night. And when they came to America, they live here where we are, and they wanted to go take a day trip to see the Grand Canyon. And it actually took my grandma to explain to them that that's like a 2-day minimum, and that's you travel there, you're at the Grand Canyon for 20 minutes, and you immediately start driving back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not a day trip, because that's like a 16-hour drive from here.
And the other thing too is, when you look at it, and it's weird to think about it, but because the Earth is round, and you go more north, you get like shorter travel distances over to like one side or the other. They're all up in the northern hemisphere, so a plane ride for them is half the time it is for us.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the distances they actually have to travel. And so it was one of those things of, up
Well, you
there.
can fit all of Europe inside Australia, and you can fit about 2 Australias inside of America.
Yeah. So we at least took him shooting, since they have very strict gun laws.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably pretty fun for a teenage boy from an extremely strict nation to come to America, where you just have to hold. Hey, can you hold the gun? It's yes. All right, here's some ammo. Go have fun.
Yeah, because when I had asked him, because he was like a little giddy schoolboy when he asked me if I've ever shot a gun or if I've ever held a gun. I said, yeah, I've shot guns, I've held guns, I now own guns. And it was funny to me because I asked him, I was like, hey, have you ever shot a gun? And he looked at me dead serious and said, yeah, I've shot an air rifle. and I looked at it, I was like, that's not a gun.
It's like we use those as toys.
Yeah.
Like I thought they did the same. like fucking airsoft? Do they not just use them as toys?
No,
It's like we shoot at each other with airsoft.
because unless you're actively like in the military, you don't get to own guns.
And even
And
that, it's
so
probably pretty strict too.
yeah,
You have to be clearance for it.
and so we took him, and I mean we took him out shooting. And God forbid he ever comes back and continues telling people at schools that we're going to go and shoot a school. I tried my best to stop him from telling all of the students
Oh
in
my
our
God.
class. Yeah, because I remember telling you guys about this one. When like
I don't
all the
remember
girls
this.
all of the girls at our school were super interested in him because he's a 6'5" tall, skinny, athletic German kid. And every time they were sitting there and they're like, "Oh, what are you and Michael gonna do?" And it was always like, "Oh, we're gonna go shooting." "Oh, where are you guys going shooting?" Like thinking it's a range, and he would dead serious look at them and say, "The school." And I'd have to sit there and explain to him, "You don't make those jokes here. Like, it has a very different connotation here."
Connotation.
Yeah. And so I would explain to him, "No, we're going out to a family member's home out in like a farm thing." And there's just a picture of and
Yeah,
this
I've
was like
seen the
right when we were
picture.
yeah, this was like right when we were getting started. So we had, a good amount of guns out there for him to shoot, and I've got video of him shooting a lot of them, and he enjoyed it a lot. But God forbid, you know, he ever comes back and tries to explain to people that he was going to shoot a school, because yeah, that would not be very fun.
You ever talk to him anymore?
No, I don't talk to I haven't talked to him since he left. We there wasn't really much that we had in common. Um, and so
He was
I
good
didn't really
looking
have
and
any.
tall
I
and skinny
Yeah,
and,
because
a chick
he was
magnet and you were
good
you.
looking,
Polar
tall, and
opposite.
skinny, and I am short, fat, and ugly. He didn't like cheese. I love cheese.
He didn't like cheese?
He didn't like cheese, and that was what threw me off. Because like, oh, he
Man
also
from
played
America.
Fortnite. He also played Fortnite.
Ew.
But yeah. But
The
yeah,
Ford.
no. So there wasn't. There's never really been much to talk. I think about him sometimes, and I wonder if I should like shoot him a message to see how he's doing. But there's really nothing to talk about between the two of us.
See, I wonder what those guys think of like coming to America because like just the sheer expanse in the sense of just the local towns. Like, if he came out to Bluegrass, I mean, Davenport's a little bit more compressed than, like Bluegrass. Like, if he saw where our house is, where, because Germany's so compressed where, like, every street's used. I mean, that's Europe in general, there's no, like, blank plots. But, like, then you have my parents' house where it has this, there's a good, quarter-mile distance between the next house and their house, and their house is in the dead center of a neighborhood. Like, there's houses everywhere, but there's still that like quarter-mile distance between the next house.
And well, the other thing too is the difference in like city layouts. Whereas, here we have
Well,
a
we were
lot of
able to build infrastructure to an actual city where they kind of built around what they had existing. That's, Europe in general. That's why America's built in grids, was because we could, because we didn't have it yet. Where
and the other thing
Europe
too
didn't.
is they like these cities have all been built where like you have entire city centers that are purely walking. You don't drive downtown and park somewhere and then get out and walk to a place like 20 feet away. For them it's okay, I'll park here and then I'll walk a good distance in to do what I need to do, because all of their streets are it's like old and small. So it was all like either you're just getting a horse cart through there or you're walking. That was what they used to have, and they haven't changed it because you'd have to do so much to change
You
it.
can't. I mean, it
Whereas-
would just take too much.
Yeah, whereas here, it was
We
sort
never
of like
had the horse buggy in the first place, really. I mean, we
Yeah.
did, but we didn't. And that's what
And
we
the-
see, like, New York did. But, you know, we kind of expanded over to the western side of the country as, you know, technology expanded.
Yeah, because like when I was in Boston, Boston is kind of like that, where it's a lot of walking, and quite frankly, I prefer it that way with the walking. It was I
See-
enjoyed it a lot more.
I would like to have something, but not have the congestion of Boston. Like, you know, honestly, Boston probably it felt like that, especially because like you just can't go somewhere and park in Boston because there's so many people, and like you'd be
Yeah.
very fortunate to find a decent parking spot. But like a place like here in like Davenport with like this size of a city, I think that would be perfect to have like a complete, you know, walking center where there's, you know, like independent markets and everything. But that's the issue with the Midwest is there's no real entrepreneurs out here unless they're in some sort of manufacturing business. Now that's starting to change. There is a lot of independently owned restaurants in Davenport starting to blow up because of what they're trying to do. But in general, the Midwest, especially our part of Iowa, is very dependent on corporations and such like that. And I think it just comes from the mass farmland that farmers are just selling out, and just because they can build just these massive plantations of just whatever they need. Like the Amazon warehouse, you can see it in the sky from Bluegrass because of how massive it is when they have all the lights on.
Yeah,
This thing is just massive, and it was just farmland that the farmer just sold to him. Probably paid a pretty penny for it. Like, I'm sure that farmer's going away laughing, but at the same time, like, that's what's being that stuff is what's being built here. Like, I know everywhere's getting an Amazon warehouse, but you know, for here, like, I mean, there's a new Coke warehouse. I mean, there's a new UPS warehouse. That's what gets built here, as opposed to a lot of coastal towns. And I learned this a lot from my sister-in-law because she grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and that just kind of has that different culture of, you know, we're here. Like, if you want to go to a restaurant, 9 times out of 10, it's some sort of chain. You know, like Hungry Hobo or something like that, Village Inn, you know, where there's multiple of the same restaurants all around. You know, every now and then you have little stuff like the local corner grill and local bars and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's big chains. Where out there in Richmond, it's actually the opposite. Where most of the time you go to a restaurant, like, you're going to sit there and get waited on by the owner.
yeah.
Where, you know, here it's very rare to meet the owner, like, of any of these places. And it's just the difference in culture. And I think that's starting to bleed over here because more younger people are starting to either stay here in general or move here because of how cheap it is to live here. You know, everyone bitches about the state of Iowa, but it is literally the cheapest state to live in by
It's also
miles.
the best quality of living.
Yeah, I mean, it's like literal statistics. Like, it's just the best place to live. It's the cheapest and just the best in general. Even though the cops in our small town fucking annoy me.
Yeah, but I mean, I have family out in. Oh, fucking, where is that? Out in the middle. I mean,
In the
middle
boonies.
of Iowa. Yeah,
Out in the boonies.
and I mean, that's what I'm talking about is like, you go out there and it's your neighbors are farmers that will give you like a cow as a Christmas gift, and like that was always the way.
So that's not the boonies, that's the sticks.
Yeah, and it was there's one town, small little town that we have to pass through to drive out there, and there's this one fucking asshole cop that will literally sit there and bust you every single time because he knows that as soon as you get into that like area, you're going over it, because it goes from like 65 down to 25 in a matter of, 50 feet.
So it's like coming into Bluegrass from
Yeah.
Walcott. where it goes from 55 to 25 and literally like I think 50 feet is what it's measured. It's a speed trap.
Yeah. Because, for Bluegrass, it goes 55, 45, 35, 25. There it goes 55, or like 65, 35, 25. Or no, 15, actually.
That's even harder to do.
Yeah. So you might as well just start braking as soon as you, like, see it. Because that guy will pull you over, write you a fucking ticket, and he will just have the biggest little grin on his face because he is an asshole.
I'm guessing you guys have met a few times.
We haven't, because we know it. But it is always funny every time you get out there. You see
He's always got someone.
He's always got someone, and it is hilarious.
I just don't get why cops because you have to sign up for. It's not like there's this one big, police department that assigns you to different locations. You sign up for what department you want to be on. Why cops sign up for these small town positions just to be pissed off that nothing happens? Like, if I was a cop, I'd be sitting there fucking laughing all day, sitting out in my car taking a fucking nap, just chilling, watching YouTube, just doing nothing. Like, obviously there's more than they do, but like, I see, like, literally when we were coming home from Pate Night, the cop was sitting on the highway exit ramp in the speed trap there, where it drops from like 45 to 35, trying to get out of towners because it's on the hill. So you'll easily go from 35 to 40 as you're going down the hill without even pressing the gas, and he'll grab you there. And he was just sitting right there with his lights off in the corner. Like, I'm like, really, you got nothing else better to do to just go, instead of sitting here speed trapping people?
Yeah. Because it's another one of those things of, like, in those smaller, like, tight-knit communities, like the one that we passed through, there's a grand total of, like, a population of 100. And they probably know everyone in the town. Like, everyone knows everyone. So the most you might have to do is, like, bust a drunk guy. One of the town people get rowdy.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where you literally just take them home.
Yeah.
Like, you always see in the horror movies where they starting out, in this small town. They're like, all right, Gerald, it's time to go home. You drank a little much, and then, the guy gets fucking murdered, but...
Yeah.
The guy gets fucking murdered. Case in point.
All right, well,
like, it's one of those things of it's just goofy that they would go out there for that specific purpose and then complain that there's nothing to do.
Yeah, it just amazes me. Well, I think this is a good stopping point. We're in about hour and 10 minutes in. So, yeah, it's official release day. After we stop recording here, I'm going to get the Descent into Madness episode 1 published. So go ahead and share it to whoever, and we'll see if we can get some viewers. And yeah, so this one will come out. We're currently recording these a week ahead of time. So yeah, what should be the question this time? Let's try to ask a question every time.
Yeah, because last week's question was pork or beef. So this question this week, I don't know.
Racist or no racist? Let's just see if we can set the rudimentary
deal or no deal question.
Let's just see if we can lay the most rudimentary trap into the world.
No. See,
Coke or Pepsi? Let's do that. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke or Pepsi? That's a good one.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke or Pepsi? All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. We are currently working on the status on getting on Spotify and such, but for now, the YouTube link is the only place to watch. And I hope you all enjoy, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye-bye.